Welcome back to another video. In the last video, I showed you how you can create random percussion loops. And in today's video, I want to, want to go more into deep with this because I got a lot of questions and feedback about my last video. So I thought maybe it's a good idea to explain some additional concepts to it. So for one, I got a question on YouTube here by Oliver Dahan. I was asking to myself if there is a way to put the dices directly into the device and to sync them without using the grid. Is there a way to do this, or the grid is the only solution? So actually you can do this with just modulators inside Bitwig Studio. So if you just use here an ETOM device, I resize this a bit here. Okay, so we can use here just random modulator, and the random modulator is modulating all the time, as you can see here. But there's an option which is called hold, or rate of 0. So you can put this on hold here, and you can see it's just the current calculated value holding over time. And to get another value, all you have to do is to switch this back to some different setting here, maybe Hertz. And then it changes the value. So what we can do is we can use here pretty high rate. So we get a lot of randomly generated values here. And we can use a button. And then we can switch this here to hold. And the button actually modulates this time base here, or time mode. It's a time base. So when we push this here, actually I have to modulate this in the opposite direction. So when we push this button, we can see we calculate a lot of values, and if we disable this, we just hold the current value. So we can call this here generate to generate nodes, or generate random values. And then we can start to modulate all kinds of values of the ETOM device. And maybe we can also, that should be fine. So we can just duplicate this first modulator here by dragging it to the next free slot and just holding control. You can see there's a small plus button, plus icon symbol on the mouse cursor. So we can just duplicate this. Now we have the same modulations here applied to this modulator. So we don't need to apply the button modulation again. All we have to do is click this small handle here and modulate another parameter of the ETOM device. So maybe we go also here to a different range of values. This should be good. Then we go here to the tuning knob, and we can duplicate this and use this for this. Maybe decay. Maybe we also modulate this one here just a bit, and maybe switch the click on and off. You can see now when we push this button, we generate all kinds of weird settings, and when we disable this button, we just hold a random value. So this should be possible, so you don't need to actually use the grid. You can use it also this way. So maybe I use my headphones. So let's just listen to this, right? All we have to do is put a arpeggiator here in front, so we can hold a key. So you can see you can generate a lot of different percussion sounds just with this small trick here. You can save this, of course, as a preset. So just random etom and just save it. So you can recall it every time you need some random percussion sounds. And then we can, of course, use a selector again, an instrument selector, and just use this in here. Then we go in front of this and use also a button modulator. And then we modulate this button modulator inside this layer. Okay. And call this generate again. So now we can use here this layer, duplicate it 3 times. Select this instrument selector and go here to round robin. And now we should select every time this arpeggiator is generating a note, we should switch to a different layer here and play the etom with the random generated percussion sound. And this sounds like this. Okay, so this way you can create interesting percussion sounds, just as I explained it in the last video. So this way you don't need the polygrid, and you can maybe use it also with the 2.0 version of Bitwig Studio. You can try it out. I don't know actually if there is a type of hold here for the hold rate of 0 option for the random modulator, but it should be there. So this way you can make use of this trick in 2.0. In 2.0 there shouldn't be an instrument selector, so there's a problem with this trick here I showed you, where we can use the arpeggiator to switch different layers. So, but at least you can generate random single random etom sounds with this trick. Okay, so all we have to do now is to lay down here some note, and this should play pretty fine. So maybe raise the BPM here. Okay. Okay, so now we can also use here an FX, or maybe just start with a frequency shifter. And frequency shifter sounds pretty nice actually on percussion sounds. Okay, and then we can use an FX selector. Put this in here. Use maybe also, yeah, let's use 4 steps. And in every layer of this, we change the value a bit. So in this one, we go this, then maybe this, here this, and then this. And maybe you guessed it already, we also changed this to round robin. Okay, so now we have a pretty interesting techno loop going on here. And what we also can do is we can, of course, use here different audio effects. For instance, maybe let's use a reverb here and also an FX selector, and just use different reverb settings. Duplicate. Duplicate. Oh, wrong layer. and also switch this here to round robin. And when you switch here to different amounts of layers, you can also influence some kind of the rhythm of this whole processing here, because you kind of generate a different length of loops for the effects, and this gets you some kind of polyrhythms within the effect selectors here. So when you add basically here just one layer, so we have a even loop. And then you delete this one here, so we have just 3 steps here. So this gets you some kind of interesting, polyrhythms. So so now we have this. We can of course use my hard clip preset here I created. I put a link in the description for this hard clip preset here, so you can download it. So we clip the fuck out of this. And now we have a nice little percussion creator, yeah, which you can use to bounce this to audio. So we have now a static loop here, and then we can step in here and just generate new sounds. Okay, so we can bounce this also. So we have a different loop here, and we can use this in a different section of our track. And what we also can do is maybe do the same trick here we did with the frequency shifter. We can also use this, of course, with the E-head device, or we can even go into here and just exchange one E-tom device with a different device. Maybe we go here to E-snare maybe, and we can use also here, wrong device, random, switch to hold, use a button which we call generate. We modulate this this option here. We go pretty high, nice, and then we just modulate here some settings. So you can decide how much you want to modulate all these knobs here. In my experience, it's recommended to basically define a range of possible values. So don't just go 0 and then use this. You get a lot of random sounds you maybe don't want or don't use in the end. So just define some kind of range. Maybe this. Yeah, that's okay. yeah, let's try this. So you can kind of create more interesting patterns by just, yeah, exchanging some of the devices here in these layers. You don't need to have actually only E-tom devices. You can also use E-snare, or maybe there's also this E-cowbell here you can use, or E-clap, and yeah, use this for different purposes. And if you put a lot of effects here down the chain on it with the FX selectors, you can create a lot of interesting loops this way. It's actually pretty fun to to use this. Maybe use a kick drum here for the rhythm, or maybe just use also an arpeggiator. And of course you can bounce this down. So you have a static object or static wave file you can work with. And then just cut this down. So you can create a lot of stems actually for yourself without using a lot of libraries, just with the basic devices of Bitwig Studio. and a lot of modulations and randomization, and then bouncing down everything to audio to get some stems, and then you can mangle the stems in the sampler, or you can cut this down on the track itself. So there's a lot of possibility to create new sounds from old devices or default base native devices of Musik Studio, and get yourself into the groove.